want to show you how type is created. Type is all kinds of different forms and thicknesses and sizes. I want to show you a very simple type that is made in groups. Now, to start off with, I've got layers happening here where I've got all the layers turned off right down to the guidelines. You see I can turn the guidelines on and off. I have a special cross here or square with these guidelines, and then there's the center guidelines down the middle of that. If I turn on the template back, you can see that that gray square fills that circle. Now, there's other things that I'm using, like there's 3 horizontals. These are the same thickness, each one of them, and the space between them, or the negative space, is a little less than the space for these horizontals. One horizontal is right at the top, one at the bottom, one right down the middle. Now, the letters, as we build these letters come in groups, like what I call the E group. E's and F's and H's and L's and T's and I's, all are horizontal or vertical bars that sit there and make the E group. Now, let me show you the other group of shapes I've got here is the verticals, and there's 3 vertical bars running straight up and down within that square. Now let's go back and look at the E group. If I take an E and cut off this portion of that bar and this much of that bar and this much of the bar and leave one vertical, I have an E. And traditionally the E middle bar on the capital E's are not as long as the upper and lower vertical. This green space is the thickness of the negative space. The red is the thickness of the horizontal and vertical, and you can see the green is not as big as the red. So from this I can go through and make the H and the I. Now the I is the narrowest letter. The widest letter is the W. The O is formed within that square. Same thickness, but it just turns within the square. Here's some of the letters that come off the O. Of course, the O and the Q, and then the C cut 45-degree angles, and another C cut with square angles, a half cut for a circle making a C, a half cut C with elongated horizontal bars on it, a C that's cut and turned so that it can sit over smaller words down in here. 3 different G's, actually 4. This one is, the length comes to the end of the bar, and this one the length backs up just a little bit. The D and the B and the P and the R are part of the O business, but it has half a circle with an extending verticals that or horizontals that come into the vertical. And that group is made with the O group. Then there is the S group, which is actually 2 circles. And the circles, if I come out of color here, Command Y, you can see that the big circle on the bottom meets the inner circle here, and the little circle on the top meets the inner circle here, so that this thickness here is the same as the thickness up here and down there. It's just that this bottom circle is slightly larger than the upper circle, so that it doesn't look like it's going to fall over. Now, going back to the color, Command Y, you can see when I make the figure 8 here, I can cut it by going to the Pathfinder and doing the cut motion here with the Command key down. And I get everywhere it crosses, there's a cut make, and there's a cut there and there and there and there. If I make it black in all one, it's the S, makes the S curve. Or you could have this cut off here and have this come out horizontally and the bottom horizontally. There's the actual 8 figure if you're making an 8. The J and the U use this smaller circle, not the larger circle for the O, but the smaller circle to form the base of the J and the O. And in some cases you could make a rounded A with a high crossbar or a low crossbar. The R has the smaller circle on the top, extended in a diagonal. The B can have half of the little circle, half of the big circle extended into the vertical bar, and the P small circle extended into the bar. So the another group of letters is the angles, where you have the A angle, and the A, the Z, the V, the W, the Y, the X are all combinations of angles and or horizontals or verticals. And so in each situation, you're taking the verticals or the horizontals and helping to make these groups of letters so that you end up with a complete alphabet. Now, that's the template. Those are the verticals, the horizontals, and the zeros are in place, or the O's are in place, and they're all only capital letters. I haven't even talked about lowercase or numerals or punctuation. What happens then is you complete this thing, you get the type. Now here's the type I put together from those horizontal and verticals. The 0 fits within the square. The I is the narrowest of letters. The W is the widest. Some W's overlap and they're not quite as wide. You can see a variety of A's, a left lean, a right lean, a pointed, flat top, and different C's, a few different G's, a bunch of Q's, 2 different R's. They just vary a little bit here in the way that the angle comes off. So you can pick and choose these things and start to put them together. Like on the top, I've called this the square end because they are square ends here on all of the letters. Even the round letters have a square end on them. Here I put them very close, if not touching together, and change the color so I don't have a gap there. It just says square end. Then there is what I call the rounded end, where you take this little circle right here and you put it at the end of all those squares and modify it so now they're rounded end letters. Virtually the same family or the same style, just that they have rounded letters instead of square letters. That Dangerfield type then can be taken apart and put it into different words, letters, headlines, whatever. I call it Dangerfield because as I was making this, someone on television was talking about Rodney Dangerfield, the comedian who has passed away, but I thought that was a neat name. And so I put that together. There's Dangerfield, and it has just the letters. The A has been elongated and crossed over into the N, and the D has got a little dot in there for just design purposes, and the I has a dot over the I like a lowercase, but it's again more design purposes. And then I put the gray background back here around the back side of it so that we go with making the copy, taking the original Dangerfield, making a copy and dragging it out. Oops, I didn't get all the parts. I didn't get the crossbar of the A there. And bring that out. In this case, I'm going to melt them all together in Pathfinder so that that's just all one unit, Option key, or I'm sorry, the Command key, and they all melt together. Now remember, to make the outline, you have a solid fill, and you take the stroke and you make it the same color, and then in the stroke you hit the round end and the round join, and then beef up the stroke until it's, you have to watch it and make sure you don't get too thick or too thin, but you get to a point where you've got what you want in the thickness, and then you have to go to Object, down to Path, and Outline Stroke, and that gives you all the drawing geometry of that. If I take this all together and melt them, Option key and the melt key, then they go down to just a solid fill. There's no stroke anymore. The stroke is melted into the fill, and that I can turn to a light gray, and then I can take the original letters and put over the top, and I get the outline happening there. Okay, so that's where this outline comes here. That's around all the edges, inside and outside, around the circles. I've taken this name and I've made it a little lengthening of the A and shortening of the L, and the A rolls into the S. And I put a dot there just for decorative purposes, and a dot there. I added a circle here, making it the O sort of a target, and then just another decorative dot over here. Now I put the gray background on the back side of this, and it's just a combination of letters and words and things you put together, where like in this case with Earl, it rolls together and the A tilts and tucks into the L on the side there. So just all kinds of combinations that you can use. Here's a font where using that same rounded font and just using the word Jericho Crossing, tilt and turn and colorate and decorate with gray backgrounds. This is the background turned into a stroke, and so it is a stroke, but it's thick enough to be seen and give just an outline around this second version. Here's a case where we took the word Sim Soap and arranged it and tied it together, and then put some bubbles around it, added some outlines, 2 or 3 outlines, and then colorated the outlines and the strokes and the red to orange inner letters, and put some coloring in the bubbles, and we get that to be the complete packaging wording that you're going to have there. So from this font, what I want you to do is to open this Adobe Illustrator piece up, type round end, and select one and make an option and pull it out here, and then select the complete set of letters that you want, and make sure you pull out a copy. And once you have the words where you want them to be, and more than this, you select a word or two or whatever, and then decide how you're going to put them together and what modifications you might make. Then you take these that you've selected and you go Command C, and you have them now temporarily on the clipboard of the computer. Open a new page, new, and when that new page opens, if you hit Command B as in Victor, that puts those words there. Then bring in some Command R, bring in some guidelines, and start to build your word so that they're level on the guidelines. And check and see if it is level. Get a little closer. Go in with your magnifying tool and make sure you're right on the guidelines. And then you might want to elongate or do decorative things, put an outline behind it, come up with 2 or 3 uses of words that would be a book title or a headline, or perhaps have something on packaging. Missouri Breaks, or Fast End, or Trees on Fire. Whatever you want to do that's headline-ish or book title-ish, make some words up and just use these letters that I've made as if you made them, and now you're going to use them. And do 3 of those and put those together, and we'll see those as projects coming in for evaluation.